years ago, and to Mike. I had some ideas of my own that I was working on in history of probability, and I saw the opportunity to look at a particular fellow named Abraham Moivre, who was a mathematician in England, arrived in about 1687-ish, and died in 1754. And there is only one list of people who supported him, or who were his patrons, that had bought a book of his. He wrote 3 or 4 books. This is called the Miscellanea Analytica. It's basically a math book. And so one way to get at his knowledge community, or the community who supported him, is to look at the subscription list of this particular book. And I'm pointing at the wrong thing. There we go. This particular book, again, Miscellanea Analytica, contains a number of new mathematical results of the day. So it has things like not just math, it has physics, it has things on centripetal forces, has some of the latest results in probability, it has some latest results in the mathematics of the day, something called the factorization of trinomials, and it has a follow-up to an argument that de Moivre had with a guy named Moivre in France. They had been fighting over priority of probability results since 1711, when de Moivre published his first work on probability. And essentially the argument you would have thought would peter out when Moivre died in 1719, but in 1730, de Moivre is still responding to Moivre 11 years after his death. So that's the contents of the book. What we see next is the list of people who subscribe. And so there are 163 names altogether. 5 of those names, so-called names, are libraries. And so they're all libraries at Cambridge. So we might want to ask the question of the names on the list, of the people on the list. Is there anything that this list can tell us that's new about Abraham de Moivre, his career, his work, etc.? So we might look at some, when you look at the list, you come up with some odd names. The Right Honorable Lady Diana Spencer appears on the list. Why is she there? She's the only woman on the list. She is, for people who sort of recognize Lady Diana Spencer as a phrase, she is great, 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 and so many greats of former Princess of Wales. There is another name on the list who kind of stands out when you look at it. He's an aristocrat, but the only non-English one, or the non-British one, the Marquis Visconti. Why is he on the list? Who are these people and why are they on the list? Are a few questions you might want to ask. Besides, what information can this list give us about Abraham de Moivre? So there's some other questions you might want to ask after perusing the list. What are the things, and this relates to what Mike and Bill had gone over a bit. What are things that are common to the people or subsets of people on the list? What are the commonalities? Once we find the commonalities, who are the oddballs? Who's out on the periphery? And why are they out on the periphery? What kind of information can that give us? And what was not mentioned in the last talk is whom do we think should be on the list and is not on the list, and why aren't they on the list? And I have 3 indications of that. Some foreshadowing to start with, since it turns out that there's a huge political element to the names on the list. But the first thing that you might want to look at before looking at the list is who published the book. And this is a math book, with lots of mathematical symbols in it, and those were expensive to produce. This book, the subscription cost 2 guineas. The normal book cost around 12 shillings, or 6 shillings, I think. So much less, quarter of the price. And so this is a very expensive book to publish. And it's a mathematical book. And the person who published the Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society is a subscriber to this book. And he was the publisher for the Philosophical Transactions, which had a number of mathematical articles in them, so he seemed to be the most likely guy to publish this book. But it's published by a guy named Jacob Tonson. There are actually 2 Jacob Tonsons. It's an uncle and a nephew. The older one, the older Jacob Tonson, sort of retired in 1720 from the publishing business, but he essentially didn't do the nitty-gritty of publishing. He sort of oversaw general things and gave ideas, and I think basically ran the business from a distance. His nephew ran the day-to-day operations. There was a junior partner named John Watts. He just appears to be called in every once in a while for various publishing projects. The Tonsons tended to publish literary works, not mathematical works. The only science, they published some medical stuff, and the only science they published, or math and science, was some reprints of things that Isaac Newton had done. They're not big in the mathematical publishing field. They're not big in the scientific publishing field. They tended to publish some of the main literary lights of the day. Now, the elder Tonson was a member of a club called the Kit Kat Club, which was a political club. It was a club devoted to promoting the Whig cause, and in 1730, definitely the Whigs were in power. 1/5 of this membership are subscribers to this book. It's either them, the person themselves, or a son, if the original aristocrat is dead. So about 1/5 of the members of this Whig political club are subscribers to this book, which will turn out, you will find that one of the commonalities is basically a group of Whigs subscribing to this book.